It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force, the podcast exploring the galaxy far, far away. I'm here, David Cottingham, with Casey Cooley.
Hello, for humans. I don't know. I should think something clever.
Humans?
Humans. What's, I don't know. Any other aliens, race of Star Wars? I don't know.
Yeah.
Rhodians, whoever is listening.
Maybe that's what you should do. Look up some different languages of how to say hello.
Oh, in Star Wars?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Huttese.
I'll just do some...
Geonosian, I don't know.
Do you want to be the bottle?
Camino.
Chuta.
Yeah, exactly. Poodoo.
How dare you?
Yeah. So, hello and welcome, like I said, to Inside the Force. We are a Star Wars-centered podcast, and what we do here is we profile a certain character, creature, technology, affiliation, something with the Star Wars universe. This is the 5th episode. We've done Coruscant. We've done Jedi Master Yoda.
The Rule of Two
with Darth Bane.
Yeah.
And last week we did Wedge Antilles.
Yeah. So this one, being episode 5, should be the best, right?
Should be the best.
Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah.
So, and we wanted to pick someone kind of on the bad side because we were kind of we did a couple of heroes with Yoda and Wedge in a row, so we wanted to kind of go to the, not the true dark side, but more Imperial. So we'll get into that, and then we'll get into some news and some information regarding Star Wars, and then we'll get into our trivia question that we've been doing. We are tied as of the moment through 4 questions. So we could always be tied after 5. It's not like one of us get wrong. So, we'll see. We don't know the question, but, we'll see. But so getting into the profile, we are going to talk about Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yes. That guy.
And what everybody knows of him is he's kind of the main villain of episode 4.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Vader is there, but almost if you watch it, he's like kind of the guy that's standing next to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Vader didn't even have a seat at that table.
He's looking around. Where? I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll just stand. Yeah. It's too hard for me to sit down anyway. Plus, I don't have real legs.
Yeah.
I don't even feel it. Man.
I'm good.
Wait, does he? He doesn't have skin over his. Does he have skin over that? Like how Luke got his?
Probably not.
I think he's just machine, right?
Yeah.
He's just no. He's like a cyborg or something, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into that when we profile Darth Vader. So anyway, we'll get into talking about Tarkin, about his history a little bit leading up to episode 4, and of course his ultimate demise because he's on the Death Star when it explodes. So he dies there. Dead. So what's weird is that doing some research on him, he's born on the homeworld of Eridu.
Yes.
And it's weird because it says he's born somewhere between 64 and 59.
They don't know.
So they don't know exactly the year that he was born, which would make him, since he died on 0 BBY, it would make him somewhere between 64 and 59 when he's on the Death Star. So it doesn't say. I don't know.
Cool if we got a spinoff with Tarkin. Maybe. That might be cool.
It would be cool.
Or just him in a spinoff. Like a much younger one. I don't know.
He would probably definitely show up in like if there was a spinoff during the Clone Wars or right after episode 4 or episode 3. Yeah.
Before episode 1. Who knows?
Yes. Because he has a pretty deep history as far as like how he came into be the Grand Moff. So born on Eridu with in a very, very wealthy family. I mean, his family was very big on that planet. Of course, he's human. Everybody kind of understands that. But So the Tarkin family was very, very, very militaristic and powerful on that planet. Actually, so he got in and served what was called the Republic Outland Regions Security Forces when he first began his career. Did that for several years, and then actually retired somewhat early, and entered politics. Which it says he became the lieutenant governor of Eridu and the Seswana sector. Is that right? Seswana sector?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's go with that.
Yeah, let's go with that. So he served as lieutenant governor for a while, and then he eventually returned to the military in order to serve under Chancellor Palpatine during the Clone Wars. So now the big thing about Tarkin was a lot of people know about him is he is tied to the creation of the Death Star. And what we'll get into a little bit later, the Tarkin Doctrine, which really kind of established what the galactic empire was all about.
Right.
So, the two big things I wanted to kind of talk about that kind of lead into the films, which people might recognize, was that so he rolled into a military academy when he was young, but then eventually got out of that and served. He was in the academy there and served under this we call it under the security force. But while he was in school, though, he was very good in math and very good in architecture, which kind of foreshadows a little bit about the Death Star. So he learned a lot of that in school, and then after he graduated, I wanted to mention he had an older brother. What was his name? Gideon.
These names. Gideon's a cool name.
Younger brother. Gideon Tarkin. So they grew up together and joined the force together and all that stuff, and they were military people for a while there. But as he became after graduation, his brother Gideon, he joined also. He and his brother joined the military security force together. Like I said, they were patrolling the outlying regions and whatnot. So, and Eridu, I think, is in the Outer Rim, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
Can you check that? I wanted to make sure that it's in the Outer Rim. But so when he retired, kind of as a young man from the military, because he wanted to seek political, he wanted to be in the political mind. So he took and used his family. His family was big on the planet of Eridu. So he used his family influence, and got elected lieutenant governor.
It is in the Outer Rim.
It is in the Outer Rim.
Yes.
Okay, so I thought so because he's really tied to the Outer Rim worlds. So here's the thing. This is where it kind of gets interesting and kind of ties into the movies a little bit. So, like I said, he was part of the security force when he was younger, retired early as a young man to go into politics, used his family's influence, got lieutenant governor, and then, so he was in this mansion on Eridu, and he got acquainted with Senator Palpatine of Naboo. And this is around, I think this is around 33 BBY. So this is literally just a year before Episode 1. So he got acquainted with Palpatine, and he got wind. It was weird because it says looking this up that he was kind of a foe of the House of Valarum, which is Chancellor Valarum, right? So apparently, Chancellor Valarum is from this planet as well.
Okay.
Right? So there was sounds like there was a lot of conflict between the two families or whatever. So in 33 BBY, Palpatine saw a profit in manipulating competition between these two companies, and I want to say they're called Lamite Limited and Intergalactic Ore. Now, what they are, they're rival companies for this thing called Lamite, which is an ore. It's like a ore that's built, and I think I read that it builds material for like cockpits and certain starfighters or whatever. So the governor arranged for the companies to deliver to Eridu on short notice. And he basically built a competition up to see who would get the long-term contract between the two. So, after they kept doing this for several, I don't even know how long it was, but to try to build this competition so in order so one of these can get a long-term contract for the supply, he set up a like a meeting or a ceremony to kind of talk about who was going to be the supplier to Eridu or whatever. But and basically the convoys that were coming got sabotaged in hyperspace, which basically left the other remaining companies. There was only 2 left. Made them basically merge into one, which granted all of its shipping rights, therefore, to the Trade Federation. And then that's how the power of the Pneumonians, who were in episode 1, right? They became the sole trade and supplier for this ore, which basically made them a target because they got this power apparently, you know, and which made them easily manipulated by Darth Sidious as the pawn, basically, that we find out in the movies. The Pneumonians are basically the pawn in this whole freaking civil war, right? That happens between the Separatists and then the Republic. So he kind of had a slight hand
of starting the whole
starting this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's why about a year. It takes about a year for all this to kind of develop into, because then it goes into talking about how Chancellor Valorum then suggested the taxation of trade zones of the mid and outer rim as part of the deal, allowing the trade revenues to increase its defense in response to attacks. So Palpatine then suggests that, you know, we hold a conference on Eridu to iron out the issue with all this stuff that's happening with the Trade Federation. Tarkin hosts the Chancellor, who then is Valorum, not Palpatine, it's Valorum,
Right.
at his mansion, basically. And it says that Tarkin was in fact complicit to Palpatine's scheme. Now, this scheme was his scheme here in this order. This is weird because this is before Palpatine even takes office. I mean, well, he's senator,
Yeah.
but before he takes chancellor. But he has the scheme to murder the Trade Federation directorate, which I guess is the leader, I guess, the CEO, I guess, or something like that. Because that would then remove him and place the Pneumonians, in fact, control of the Trade Federation. Well, so Tarkin knows about this and complies and does what he says and helps him, and it happens. It goes through, you know, whatever it goes through, and that's how the Pneumonians actually take control of the Trade Federation. Yeah. And then ultimately, what we know of is they hold Naboo ransom, right? Or not ransom, but they cease trade routes to Naboo, which starts the whole thing of the episode 1, the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're talking about the Pneumonians, Newt Gunray.
Yes.
And the other guy.
Viceroy Gunray.
That other dude.
Yeah, the other guy. I don't know what the other guy is.
No one ever knows.
We'll get to him maybe eventually. But yeah, you're right. So Viceroy Gunroy is he's the one that steps in and becomes head of the Trade Federation, basically. And the ultimate pawn. Okay, so the directorate, what I said, is actually is actually not one person, but the whole Trade Federation board. Yeah. So basically, they all get wiped out. by Palpatine. So he's already starting. I mean, and I know there's probably a lot of lists of stuff that he did leading up to that, but that was the big thing. Was that once that happened, he that's what started the whole Trade Federation, getting them involved, starting the war and whatnot. So as we know, we get to episode 1. As we know, all that happens. Tarkin's nowhere to be even seen or heard of. But 29 BBY, which is 3 years after episode 1, we catch wind. We know of what Casey's going to talk about, the whole connection with the Death Star. Because in episode 2, which is actually in 22 BBY, right? We see the first glimpse of the Death Star in the movies.
Yeah.
Where Dooku is retreating from Geonosis, where the Clone Wars start. And Poggle the Lesser is saying, hey, we can't let them find our secret plans to the ultimate weapon.
The ultimate weapon.
And so, and if you're into the history of Star Wars, you know at this point that Tarkin was tied to the Death Star.
Yeah.
So you're like, wait a minute. How the hell did these Geonosians have, so now we're kind of going to tell you where that comes from.
Yeah, 29 BBY, so what was 22? So 7 years before episode 2.
Right.
The kind of official, this really famous architect of the galaxy, Wraith's Sinar, he came up with the idea of a battle, like a super weapon, and he called it the Expeditionary Battle Planetoid, which is basically the early stages of the Death Star. And he created this idea, thought it was impractical, but Chancellor Palpatine, so this is the time so this is after episode 1. Palpatine is now Chancellor. And so Palpatine gets wind of Wraith Senar's plans for this battle station. He loves it. So Palpatine takes it and kind of gives it to his own engineer, Bevel Lemelisk, and orders him to, pursue this and do whatever he needs to do, develop whatever technology he needs to do to make this battle station real, to realize the idea. So Bevel Lemelisk goes to the Geonosians, who are starting to develop this hypermatter science technology, which would, I guess, help the Death Star become reality. So Bevel Lemelisk takes the plans from Palpatine, gives it to the Geonosians, and by Poggle the Lesser, he just mentioned, to develop even more the plans and to advance the technology to actually create it. So right now it's in, I guess, the Republic's hands. The plans are, but then, as we know in episode 2, Geonosis is under control by the Separatists. So the plans fall into the Separatist hands, and in the background, this is all orchestrated as well. Palpatine meant for the plans to switch hands. So that's a whole other thing, whatever. But anyways, the plans are now in Dooku's hands, as we saw in episode 2. And Dooku is going to try to, Dooku's using the plans for Darth Sidious, who's also Palpatine. So it's like it's going to the same person. So Dooku then uses the Geonosians himself to, once again, accomplish the plans, make sure the plans are being, sought through and the technology is being advanced to actually create it. So there is, Wraith Senar, I kind of forgot to mention, Wraith Senar, before he gives it to Palpatine, he actually gives it to Wilhuff Tarkin. And so Tarkin is the one who gives the plans to Palpatine in the beginning. Right. But he's a middleman. He's very underused in this matter. He didn't, he's an architect. He didn't actually create the plans of the Death Star as everybody kind of believed he did. Mm-hmm. He's just a messenger boy, basically. Like, Wraith Senar was friends with Tarkin because I think they're both from, Wraith Senar's from Coruscant, but Tarkin, I guess, knew him somehow. And during some battle, Wraith Senar gave the plans to Tarkin. Tarkin gave it to Palpatine. Palpatine gave it to Bevel Lemelisk, who gave it to the Poggle the Lesser, who gave it to Count Dooku, who gave it back to Palpatine, I guess, in the end. But so meanwhile, this is the reason, doing this, basically, Palpatine, by him orchestrating this whole switch around, falling into the Separatist hands, basically made it possible for it to be constructed in secret. Right. Because he didn't want the Republic to know that the Chancellor was creating a super weapon, so he allowed it to fall you can't see me doing air quotes,
Yeah.
into enemy hands. And so it would be created in secret. So that's basically the explains why the confusion between, why Dooku had the plans in episode
Right.
2. So meanwhile, it's being created under, and then even there's like a secret mission that the 501st does to get a crystal for the Death Star, but that's, we could talk about that later when we actually
the
profile
Death Star probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now you know.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So then they go back up. So to back up to where I kind of left off was episode 1 real fast, because I forgot to mention that so after this whole assassination thing happened with the Trade Federation Directorate, which is the whole board, see what happened was Valorum got, for some reason, the Jedi came to them while they're at this summit and told Valorum that there's possibly going to be an assassination attempt on you.
Yeah.
So Tarkin, that part of it was obviously probably laid as a seed, but Tarkin said, "Well, I'm going to supply more security force for you." That's what left the Trade Federation Directorate left kind of unsecured. The group called the Nebula Front is what came in and actually wiped them out. Which then, see, that's what it says, is that it. What happened was then Valorum, he assigned an investigation for the incident, but serving Palpatine's interests, Tarkin stonewalled the investigation and eventually got rid of most of the evidence, which left a bad light on Valorum, and somewhat associated with a scandal that possibly, well, where's the, where's the evidence or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what led and contributed to him getting removed from office, partly because the scandal, and then on top of that, when Queen Amidala came and they felt like he wasn't in control, the bureaucrats were or whatever. So that was part of it, and then so ultimately, as Casey said, the whole Death Star stuff happens. The plans happen during the whole lead up to the Clone Wars. Now, if you watch the Clone Wars, you get glimpses of Captain Tarkin while he's supposedly helping the Jedi, going against it. Now, there was a good story arc at the very end of season 5, which right now is the last season that we know of.
Yeah.
Where he's, capturing Ahsoka and threatening to make an example of her. You know what I mean? So that was a good arc for him. Like I said, he occasionally shows up in the series. But ultimately what happens, obviously, is that the Empire rises after the Clone Wars. The construction of the Death Star that we see at the end of episode 3 is beginning, with Tarkin kind of in charge of it. Palpatine then grants him the title of Moff.
Yeah.
So that's when he becomes a Moff. Now, the title of Moff has actually been around for a while. It was used hundreds of years ago, but it kind of went away. And Palpatine was and I think they were mainly known as governors. The Moffs were like governors.
Yeah.
So it kind of went away, but then Palpatine brought it back once the Empire got established. And then ultimately, because of the Tarkin Doctrine, which Tarkin proposed and suggested to then now Emperor Palpatine, he basically discusses and describes it as this. He says that basically what the Tarkin Doctrine suggests is that the creation of what's called oversectors to more properly handle rebel threats around in different groups of systems. So, and then it uses the HoloNet to coordinate sector groups. Now, see, prior to this, the HoloNet was mainly more for news and, information, almost like a CNN thing.
Yeah.
Well, Palpatine got rid of that,
Right.
so people wouldn't really know what was going on. And then the concept of rule through fear of force rather than force itself with a weapon of unimaginable power, aka the Death Star, as a symbol of that fear. So that was the Tarkin Doctrine, and as a obviously Palpatine loved the doctrine, and see at this time still the Senate is around still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It didn't get disbanded until episode 4. So this whole time between 3 and 4, which is very confusing to me. You know what I mean? Because we don't know a lot about that time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking, 19 years? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on in there, and it's weird to think that he's Emperor Palpatine, but he still has a Senate. You know, there's still an acting group of senators. Because if you remember in episode 4 is when Tarkin walks into the room and says, you know, the Emperor has disbanded the Senate entirely, and which grants the regional governors their power. But anyway, because of this doctrine, because that this is the way that the Empire is going to rule, he then Palpatine then tells Tarkin, okay, well, now you are going to enact this rule as the Grand Moff. So he is the first Grand Moff. Before, like I said, before they were Moffs, but now he is now later on there are other Grand Moffs, but he was the first. He was, because of this doctrine and because of this rule of fear, he grants Tarkin the title of Grand Moff, and then he mainly is in charge of the Death Star being built, which takes a long time because of a lot of things. I mean, it wasn't really, I don't think, a secret location at this time, but it was getting sabotaged a lot and getting attacked, and all this problems with just building it came about. So that's why it kind of took this long, basically 19 years almost, to be fully functional. Now, what's interesting to note, there is a point where, right when it got finished, and it's not really said in the movies, obviously, but the Death Star actually destroyed kind of an uninhabited planet first, before it actually destroyed Alderaan.
Yeah.
It destroyed Desperry, which and it actually took. They only fired 1/3 of the power.
Yeah.
And it destroyed it, but didn't explode it. And then they actually shot it like 2 more times to make sure it disintegrated or whatever. Yeah. And then ultimately, that's when they said, okay, now we're going to threaten Leia.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how that came about. They knew that it was going to, it wasn't like that was the first shot and they didn't know if it was just going to like not do anything.
Yeah.
Except maybe throw some fireworks or something like that, you know? Who knows? But they had destroyed something beforehand, so they knew that it was going to blow up Alderaan. But anyway, so Tarkin, ultimately because of this, and it seemed like, and this is part of this, the reason why I like doing this, because, you know, I didn't know that, I mean, he was basically in cahoots with Palpatine this whole time. Now, whether or not, it hasn't really said whether or not he knew he was a Sith.
Yeah.
Or and honestly, not. I don't even know if it's weird to think that. I mean, I guess they gotta know he's a Sith now. I was by episode 4.
Yeah,
because you know they know Vader's a Sith.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
Well, they have to, because remember when Vader's telling Tarkin, like, you know, I felt the presence of my old master, and he's like, you know, that ancient religion is gone from the universe. You are all that's left of their religion. You know what I mean?
So
like,
they didn't know Palpatine was a Sith.
Yeah, I almost got to think he knew. At least maybe he knew.
Yeah.
You know,
I think, though, too, just because of his whole militaristic background, that he was in cahoots with Palpatine because he just thought he sides with whoever will get the upper hand. And I thought that, you know, the opportunity seemed profitable for him. So,
well, and flat out, he's probably just evil.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, there's a story here I'll talk about later, but
yeah. So basically, what happens is everybody knows the ultimate demise happened.
Yeah.
On the Death Star, but Casey found up some stuff that you knew about.
Yeah.
The connection in the expanding universe.
Yeah. After Episode 3 in 1980, this is just kind of exposition right here. Tarkin created what was called the Maw installation. It's this base, this outpost in the outer regions, in the Maw cluster, which is a cluster of black holes by Kessel. And he created a Maw installation, which is a place where kind of like under the radar, where the Empire would create their super weapons, like the Death Star. That's where the Death Star was created, or the prototype was created around there at least. And the world World Crushers, I think is what they're called, and the Sun Crusher and the World Devastators were all created, and which we can probably profile later, which were all created over at the Maul installation. So during this time as well, Grand Moff got married. He married somebody, which is happy for him. Thalassa Tarkin. And then this marriage was going on, but actually not long after this marriage, Tarkin met this up-and-coming tactician named, I hope I don't butcher her name. Her name is Dala. Dayla. I'm going to say Dayla. I'm pretty sure it's Dayla. Her name is Dayla, and she is kind of like this new, beautiful Imperial agent, whatever. And Tarkin is smitten with her. And so he decides to have an affair with this lady. And so this is happening, and he's kind of also taking her as his protege, teaching her everything he knows about, strategy and being a tactician and all this kind of stuff. And he hires her, puts her in his personal staff, and he sends her to be in charge of the Maw installation, which is in the outer region. So he basically puts her under the radar, under kind of black ops in a way, at the Maw installation. So she's out there for over a decade, and that means over a decade. I mean, this happened not too long before Episode 4. So 11 years later, after not 11 years later after Episode 6, but several years later. Wait, is it? I think it was ABY 11 ABY. So 5 years after Episode 6.
Yeah.
Something happens near the Maul installation. Han Solo and Chewie find it, and they find her, and she had no idea about anything that happened in the original Star Wars trilogy. She didn't watch the movies, so she doesn't know the Death Star got blew up. She doesn't know Tarkin was dead. It's her lover didn't know that he died. So Han Solo told her about all this as he's being tortured by her, and so she kind of takes it upon herself to try another rise of the Empire, and she has a prototype Death Star during all this. So she kind of in an act of revenge against the New Republic, uses all these super weapons that has been created over the past 11 years, and she also had a squadron of Star Destroyers and all this stuff. So it's just an awesome book series. It's this Jedi Academy book trilogy, and she just tries to basically destroy the New Republic again. Because, all this crap that's happened that she missed. So she hadn't heard from Tarkin or anybody in the past 11 years.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, because he was just he's a bad guy. I guess he didn't really care about her. That's the thing too. The rumors are going around that he was having an affair with her, and this apparently this one Imperial agent kind of outed him and was like, hey, you're sleeping around with this woman. And she's only rising through the ranks because, you guys are together. So Tarkin puts this lieutenant guy in puts him he ejects him into space. He's in a spacesuit. So he ejects him into space with a day's supply of air. And he had, his spacesuit has an intercom. So he kind of turned on his intercom over his flagship, Tarkin's flagship, so the entire crew can hear this lieutenant who's ejected into space pleading and crying for help. And then after he died, that basically hushed all the crew. They're like, oh my gosh, it's kind of does anybody else have anything to say about this,
right,
kind of stuff, so that's just the sign of how evil Tarkin really is.
Wow.
He'll kill you if you just talk bad about him. So something cool. So you can read about that in the expanded universe, about Dayla and the Jedi Academy trilogy, which is my second favorite trilogy in the expanded universe.
Behind what, Thrawn?
Thrawn trilogy, yeah.
So, so everybody knows how he died.
Yep. Solid. He's dead now.
That's the end of that story.
That's
so
sad.
But that's Grand Moff Tarkin. That's kind of his history, his contributions to what started the whole Galactic War. Yep. Interesting to kind of figure out and find out that he was instrumental in all that in the very beginning. He wasn't basically if you see him in the Clone Wars, he knows all this is happening. I mean, he knew, So I guess it didn't take much to convince him that, the Jedi were not good for the government, and he was a politician too, so he was pushing for all this stuff to happen, I'm sure.
Right.
So, all right, move on to some news that's happened this past week.
Yes, indeed.
First off, I do want to mention, if you guys aren't aware, but Celebration Europe 2 is happening this summer. That would be in July. And I had the date right in front of me, but I lost it. So guests that we've talked about: Dave Filoni, Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, obviously, Ian McDermott, Jeremy Bullock, guys like that, will be at Celebration. Anthony Daniels. So if you're in Germany, or if you want to take the trip, it's in Germany. And I'm hoping it should be here back in the States next year, hopefully. They've been doing good about that. We went last year, which was 2012.
Yeah. And then 2 years.
And then 2 years before then, right? Yeah, 2010. Because 2011, I think it was that's when they did Europe. Before. So it seems like they're alternating, it seems like. But who knows? We might get Star Wars Celebration every year now that Disney runs it. Mm-hmm. And Disney, it's in Orlando.
Yeah.
The past couple ones anyway, so. Anyway, so what else is happening in the world of Star Wars?
Well, I'll just say, kind of want to wait till I get to the big one. There were some more layoffs in Lucasfilm. I just want to briefly mention that, which really stinks.
Here's the thing about Lucasfilm that I don't know if everybody knows, and I only know this because when I went to Celebration 3 in Indianapolis back in, this is 2005. Well, I was I was in a room with the panel. Mm-hmm. They had Rick McCallum, interview with Rick McCallum, similar to how they, we saw the interviews later on a big stage. And I remember them talking to him about Lucasfilm. And it was funny because he said that Lucasfilm at that time was comprised, I think he said somewhere around 320 or so employees. Mm-hmm. But only 2, him and George Lucas, were actually filmmakers.
Yeah.
Everybody else was a copyright lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
All they did was make sure that people weren't making money from Star Wars, or that they were registering copyrights. Like Jango Fett would come up and they would register Jango Fett. Yeah. Register JangoFett.com and make sure all the paperwork and all the I's were dotted and all the T's were crossed. Yeah. So Lucasfilm at that point, I don't know what happened, through the years, but that part of Lucasfilm was all basically lawyers. Yeah. So obviously, I think those are the people that really are starting to let go.
That's the bulk of it, and a lot of it too. They have some like LucasArts, and that was a big thing, which under Lucasfilm and Lucasfilm publishing staff. And it says here that no one from Lucasfilm publishing staff was laid off, which I don't know if anybody's worried about that. But it says no more than 24 people were lost their jobs, and they all came from, like as you said, financing, licensing, distribution.
Yeah.
So
all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of legal people. And this is said to be the last cuts. So hopefully no more people will lose their jobs.
Yeah.
But and brief good news, George Lucas is getting married.
Yeah, that's right.
To his
this summer,
longtime girlfriend. Yeah, or I guess our girlfriend, maybe fiance. I don't know when they got engaged, but yes, he is getting married.
I think they got engaged late last year.
Yeah. Good for him. And even more happier news, and this is the big news. Well, okay. I'll first one go for a little bit of sad news. The TV show that we talked about last week, has been debunked. No Star Wars Reclamation. Lucasfilm said, or Disney and Lucasfilm said that they had never seen the document that was released.
Right.
So I guess it wasn't.
Never heard of it. Nothing.
Yeah. So not even that. It was greenlit and put on the shelf. Just nothing. It was total complete fake. So.
And now no one knows the whereabouts of that guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
But he's now chained up and singing "It's a Small World" out there on Disney. So everything we said last week about maybe the speculation on that show, just whatever. Yeah. So the big news is the Disney Studios Walt Disney Studios has announced that, and we all kind of knew this, there will be a Star Wars movie released every year. Like, we thought maybe that would be kind of what they did, because they said like they might be doing that. But this is an official statement that there will be, Episode 7 in 2015, hopefully summer of 2015, and then it's going to kick off, more spin-offs and sequels. We'll get a sequel every 2-3 years or whatever, but then in between each sequel, we'll get a spin-off. So we will get, much like what Marvel's doing with their movies.
Right.
We're going to get Star Wars Episode 7, a spin-off one year, then a spin-off another year, Star Wars Episode 8, then spin-off. So every single year, we will get a Star Wars movie starting in 2015.
Every single year. That is... I mean, I'm smiling. You can't see me. I'm smiling ear to ear right now.
So, like, let's see. This is 2013. So 10 years from now, we will have 8 Star Wars movies.
Yes. Holy cow.
That's more than
on top of the 6 that we have.
Yeah, that's more than what we've had in the past 35.
That's right. That is true. Yeah, and there's concerns about that a little bit. Are there any concerns? Do you have any concerns with having a movie every year? Because a lot of people are like,
yeah, I mean,
is that going to dilute it?
Yeah.
Is that going to give me too much?
Well, see, that's
is it going to be shitty stories?
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like with what Marvel's doing, like, are we going to get inundated with comic book movies?
I definitely think by Phase 3, it may get to because I think didn't they release like and we're kind of getting off subject here, but Marvel didn't they release possible Phase 3 movies?
I think so.
And some of them aren't nowhere. Like, I don't think there's a Iron Man movie in there. I think it's
probably not.
Yeah, because Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., I think he's done after Avengers 2.
Yeah.
So I think there's supposed to be maybe another Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I think there's a couple other ones that we haven't heard of yet. Ant-Man is one of them. But anyway, I just think that it's possible that they can it could run its course.
Yeah, Star Wars, I'm so worried. But I mean, Star Wars has been so timeless, but is that because there's been so little of it? I mean, there's been like small things like Clone Wars, little TV shows like that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean,
that's
a new
really
trilogy is awesome. Like, new trilogy, yes, let's have a new trilogy, but like a movie every single year, like all these spin-offs, it's just, like, I don't want to ever see an end to Star Wars, but getting a movie every single year, I don't know. I mean, we got Harry Potter for 8 years.
Right.
And I wasn't tired of Harry Potter. I mean, I'm sure some people were. I
mean, the fact that I think I've kept saying this in all the other podcasts, but I think, I mean, just if you would have told me like 3 or 4 years ago, like, hey, eventually you are going to grow old every year with a Star Wars movie. Yeah. I mean, that is this is also awesome.
Star Wars to me has always been for the new generation, and I'm going to love probably these next trilogy and whatever spinoffs come in between that. But by that point, it's like 9 years from now, about 10 years from now, I'm going to be 30, mid-30s. So I probably will still be up, willing to see more Star Wars movies, most likely. But at that point, there'll be a 10-year-old who is seeing a Star Wars movie for the first time. Mm-hmm. So there's always that new generation seeing their first Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So for them, it'll be new and new and new. So I'm not worried about me not liking it. And me not, I mean, yeah, I might be flooded with Star Wars movies. And worst case scenario, I get tired of Star Wars 20 years from now. But it's not tiring for the 5 and 10-year-old.
Right.
So I think it's okay that they come up with them, as long as it's always fresh. That's just who they hire to make the movies. But as long as they're good stories and adventure films that keep
Yeah, but I think the fact that I really do think that the fact that it's going to be one-offs.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
I think that's going to help because I think if you have to constantly wait a couple years for the sequel every time, you know what I mean? I think that would really run its course. But the fact that we would get one movie about like Yoda, mm-hmm. and then that's done, and then we go on get a backstory of Obi-Wan or somebody, you know what I mean? I just think that's going to keep, I think, the interest going.
Yeah,
as far as seeing that
and seeing new characters, I think will be
new
good.
ones, absolutely.
New characters,
maybe ones that we just heard about or read about. Yeah,
I mean, Darth Bane, a trilogy like before the movies, will be. I think will keep it interesting as long as they keep. I don't want to say reinventing Star Wars, but adding new elements and new elements to Star Wars, like new planets or new technology, new villains, like making the Force crazy or whatever. Something new. Like they brought in the Yuuzhan Vong eventually, something like that. That would be something cool.
Now, do you think what are the chances that we don't get what are the chances that we get a 10, 11, 12?
Yeah,
do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I don't know what it'd be about.
I don't either.
I don't want to see, like, in the Star Wars timeline, like 100 years from now, we still have a Skywalker. You know,
I agree.
I don't want to keep seeing Skywalkers.
I want to see it end at 9, honestly.
Like, you don't want to see an episode 10?
No.
So you want to keep seeing spinoffs?
Yes.
Or like...
Or another trilogy outside of the Star Wars.
Yeah, don't call it episode 10. Just
correct.
A new trilogy. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that'd be cool.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and then 1 through 9.
Yeah.
I think that's enough for like the Star Wars Skywalker saga.
Yeah. Okay.
But I wouldn't mind seeing like a Darth Bane trilogy or Knights of the Old Republic trilogy or whatever after that. But I think you stop numerically and naming them. But ultimately, I think I am definitely on board with these spinoffs.
Absolutely,
for sure. I mean, and I think, and I want to say, I think in that release that they said for sure that it's coming out 2015, because I think there was a big speculation on whether or not Abrams needed like another year, something like that. But I think summer of 2015 we're getting it, and then and it sounds like they're going to be working on the movie that's coming out in 2016 at the same time, by a whole nother group of people. So this is exciting. I do think, though. I mean, what do you think, real quick? Like, because of the movies being so often. I mean, the chances of a television show are a lot smaller.
I mean, I read an article saying that Disney wants to have one like through ABC or something like that.
Now, animated is one thing.
Yeah, we'll get animated.
But that live action thing,
it's just so expensive. Probably, I just don't think
that's possible.
I mean, unless they go for like a sci-fi, cheesy, and special effects, but
what you never know. Now, Lucas would never go for it, but
Disney,
he ain't in charge anymore. So
Disney. I mean, I don't know. Disney's got money. So,
I know.
I don't know. I agree. Live action Star Wars show, maybe eventually, but I don't think anytime soon. Probably not.
Yeah, and I'm good with animated too. Whatever. I like it.
Even animated movies.
Totally.
It can make a spin-off of Yoda animated. I don't care.
Yes, I agree. I'd rather have live action.
Yeah, of course. It's always much more fun.
Yeah. All right. So again, we'll keep up with the news. Next week we'll come up with some more news.
Yep.
We're gonna do our trivia question to wrap up this podcast.
Let's do it.
You ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm hanging on the edge of my seat.
I know. All right. Trivia question. 2161 is the question. If you are following along in the book,
must be in the original trilogy.
Yes. These are by eras. They code by basically movie eras. So if you're following along, the book that we're using this from is called Obsessed with Star Wars, 2,500 questions, multiple choice questions from it's not just the movies, but beyond, but it does the movies by eras. So we are in Return of the Jedi era.
Return of the Jedi. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Here is the question. Multiple choice. What did Wicket... You know who Wicket is, right?
I know who Wicket is.
What did Wicket witness that helped the Ewoks in the Battle of Endor? What did he witness that helped the Ewoks in the Battle of Endor? A, the location of the Imperial troops. B, the access code to the shield generator bunker. C, Darth Vader landing on Endor. Or D, an ATST stumbling off the Yawari cliffs.
Read me the first one again.
Okay, so what did Wicket witness
Yeah.
that helped the Ewoks in the Battle of Endor? A, the location of the Imperial troops. B, the access code to the shield generator bunker. C, Darth Vader landing on Endor. Or D, an ATST stumbling off the Yarwari cliffs.
I'm going with that one.
You're going with D?
Yeah.
Man, I was
I know.
leaning towards that too.
Oh, you can go for that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
What did Wicket witness that helped the Ewoks in the Battle of Endor?
Yeah, I'm going with that one. Just gotta reason my way through it. Educated guess.
I mean, I think it's either that one or I think it's C.
See, which was the
Darth Vader landing.
Yeah.
Because I think he was landing near the generator,
yeah.
which helped the location. But I think the rebels already knew the location or whatever. I think I was leaning towards D, so I'm gonna go with D as well.
All right.
Okay.
Either tie no matter what.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because I mean
That's the only thing that would help in the battle, I guess. You know. in a
well, I
sense.
figured they didn't know about Darth Vader being there because
Well, yeah, that's true.
Luke didn't even know. I don't think when he saw him.
No.
And I was going with that.
Well, he felt them around in the ship.
He knew he was there.
Yeah.
I was going with that with a D or A.
Or A.
But I think they
Location of
already
Imperial
knew
troops.
where they were.
Yeah, I think they did. I think you're right. Yeah. So. All right, we're still tied.
Yeah.
We're still tied. That brings the what's that bring the total? 2-1 and no.
We were 4. We were 2 and 2.
We were 2-1 and 1.
2-1. Sorry.
So now we're 3-1 and 1, right?
1.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you keeping score?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I got to. Yeah. All right. So that does it for this week on Inside the Force.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter at Inside the Force. Casey is. Go ahead and tell him your Twitter.
Kryptonian 1138.
Yep. I am at D Cottingham 21. InsideTheForce.com is where you can check out. And right now we're in. I don't know if by the time you hear this, it might be live, but the official website right now is just kind of a static page with some links. But you are going to be able to listen to all the podcasts right there from the website, InsideTheForce.com, if you choose to. We suggest listening any way you can.
Yes.
Subscribe to us on YouTube or on iTunes. We had a big 21 Network meeting this past week. We are going to be sending up videos on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/21 Network. From all the podcasts, they're going to have some associated web videos for you there. So check that out. Go subscribe there. We're in the process of really talking about what we're going to put up there. So that'll be up soon. 21network.com. Send us your comments on Twitter or some suggestions. And anybody wants to suggest a profile that we want to talk about, you want to hear about, let us know. Seriously think about that and get that in there, because right now
Absolutely.
we're just deciding this as we go. So
Yeah.
So, but like next week,
Yeah, if you really want to know about something.
yes, let us know. But next week we will hit on who we hitting on.
What we talked about?
Yeah,
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because I was thinking about that, and I was like,
Old
you know
man.
what?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about his past.
Yeah.
All I know about it is from the movies and the Clone Wars, which is a lot. But, before episode 1, he was...
him as a youngling training or
Yes,
something
totally.
like that.
Where he's from, how he got discovered, whatnot. So we're going to dive into that next week. Give you some more about old Ben.
Yeah. Oh, that guy.
Crazy old wizard.
Old hermit. Don't come out for nothing.
That's right.
Except when young boys get troubled in the Dune Sea, whatever that was called. I forgot what that place was called, but yeah.
I don't either.
We'll
let you know next week.
Yeah, sorry guys.
So thanks for checking this out, Inside the Force. We're 5 episodes in. Really digging it, man. I
Going
love this.
strong, yeah.
Yeah. So, for Casey Cooley,
Evacuate? In a moment of triumph? I think you overestimate their chances. There you go.
very good.
Yes.
I'm David Cottingham, and may the force be with you.
This has been a production of the 21 Network, a collection of weekly podcasts. For more great podcasts, visit 21network.com. To view additional content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/21network. Follow us on Twitter at 21network for the latest news and updates. The 21 Network, for the fan and all of us.